Hey there, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Jamie, and we're your co-hosts for Two Clicks in a Pod.
Join us as we explore our missed times, stories, and memories due to divorce and a 1,000-mile separation.
I can't wait. You ready to get into it, Kev?
I am. Hey, Jamie, you think they're going to swear?
Oh, yeah. Consider yourselves warned. All right. We're here.
Hey,
All three of us.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
We
Hi,
are
Dad.
a trio. Not
Yes.
a duo, but a trio.
A trio. A strong trio.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to be a strong trio. I think we
Right,
are.
just like your husband's favorite band.
I was going to say that, kind of like Rush, the magical music trio. Okay, well, I'm going to kick us off here. We're very excited. This is our first official guest episode of Two Clicks in a Pod. And who better to have as our first guest than our wonderful producer, Kelsey Webb. So I'm going to be very professional here, Kels, and read for the listeners your actual bio to share a little bit about your background, so everyone knows how you got into this business, the biz, as they say.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Kelsey Webb is the founder, and I love this, master connector for Rain Social. She is a marketing professional with more than a decade of experience. She's passionate about helping businesses thrive by building lasting relationships with their customers. While studying abroad, Kelsey learned innovative marketing strategies and realized that making connections is her superpower. And at its core, marketing is connecting. So after years of building connections as a director of marketing, you launched your own business as Rain Social and now partners with businesses to find their customers and build their own communities and connections. So I love that. I love that write-up.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you want to now make it more personal and tell us a little bit about yourself from Kelsey the person?
Yeah. So I'm tuning in today from Kansas City. So I've lived and immersed myself in a lot of different, similar to your backgrounds, a lot of different cities, cultures, and I've learned a lot and been able to grow a lot personally and professionally. And yeah, I mean, as my bio described, I enjoy marketing from a sense of creating connection for others. That's just something that's naturally been easy for me. So being able to help businesses find and connect with their people, and vice versa, right? We have customers that are looking for, the services and products that are out there. So making it easy for people to connect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So oh gosh, there's so much to the story. What else do you want to know?
Well, and I was going to say, we'll talk through today kind of some of the connections that you've made for us through this journey of Two Clicks. But I guess let's start more at the beginning, because I don't know that I've ever heard this full story. But Dad, tell us a story about how you met Kelsey and brought her into our lives.
Yeah, just kind of a random weekend and I say random, it's always planned when we go up to the Choctaw Casino, but Brian Sasser, who has been a part of our life for a long, long time, Kelsey's wakeboard coach, was opening up a new...
Sister Kelsey, not Kelsey Webb.
Sister Kelsey, not Kelsey. Yeah, Kelsey 1, Kelsey 2. Brought up the point that he was opening up a new Mastercraft dealership, of which I purchased the boat from him, making the move to Tennessee. But in any event, we planned attending that. And in attending that, it just so happened to match with a concert that was going on there. So off we go, in we roll. And on Saturday morning, we went to the dealership location. And it was kind of a really dreary day. It was rainy. It wasn't ideal for boat sales or boat weather. But, it's planned, you go and you attend. And just in walking around and seeing what all Brian had created and just meeting different people here and there, and walked into the showroom, which he was setting up, of the kind of the merch room, the boards, and had a number of just guests, Kelsey being one of them, but he as well had some other people that were involved in the industry that were there and on site. And just by chance, I don't remember how it came forward, but Kelsey was standing there, and somebody, I don't know if it was Brian, or I asked her exactly, what she was doing there. She was there as a, um, in her professional capacity, as she'd helped Brian launch the show, Texas Boathouse, and was there just in support of Brian. And we started just kind of introducing ourselves, talking. And, when I found out that she was in marketing, knowing that we had talked about launching this podcast,
Yeah.
and the labor and the intensive upfront development of concept, ideas, brand, and things like that, I just started picking her brain, wanting to know if she was, if she knew anything about the podcast world, what she did specifically, that, and told her that you and I were thinking about making that step, making that launch. We'd been in discussions for a while. We're ready to go to it. And in that introduction of what we were attempting to do, and her response, as you see today, it's always greeted with a large smile.
Yeah.
And the I can do attitude, which resonates deep in my soul and deep in my heart,
Of
because
course
that's
I
the way
can
I've
help
lived my
you.
life. There
Yeah.
is nothing that you can't do. It's all about can do. I just really connected real quick, and visited with her, and felt like this was kind of a grassroots girl and a grassroots program that was from a startup with really, number one, no budget, but knew that we had to spend money to get there. And I said, this is great. And she was from Wichita Falls, Texas, and
Mm-hmm.
living there at that point in time. No.
No, Wichita, Kansas.
Oh, you're from Wichita, Kansas?
Yeah.
You were not living in Wichita Falls, Texas?
No.
So when I asked where you live, you said Wichita?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, that takes
I
that
have
away.
to admit, I thought you lived in Wichita Falls, Texas, too. You
Yeah.
never did?
I
Yes.
did. Yeah. I said,
No.
well, what in the heck? Why were you coming down from Wichita, Kansas?
Oh
How
my
did you?
God, this is
That's
like
another
light
question
bulb
to come
moment.
up in the story. And I said, well, that's just right up the road, And I
Right,
was all,
right.
I was all
That's funny.
excited that she was from the home of Bowling for Soup. That's what really drew me in. I said, man, do you
Wizard
know
of
those
Oz.
guys?
Wizard of Oz. Yeah.
Wizard of Oz.
Wow, this is
So
amazing.
that
Good
is
thing we had this
crazy.
conversation. Okay.
All right, we got to take all that money back. I'm firing her tonight.
You're not from Texas? Screw you. We're done.
No. Wait a minute. What connection
That's
do I have
right.
to Wichita, Kansas? I got Wally Cornwell. He went to school up there. Wichita State's in Wichita, Kansas. Is that correct?
Mhm. Yep.
What's
Makes
what are
sense.
they called? The Wichita
Shockers.
State, the Shockers.
Shockers.
That's right. Yeah.
Shockers
All
or
right. Well, that's a
shuckers?
shock. Wichita
Shockers.
versus Wichita Falls. But
Mm.
anyway, we just kind of hit it off. Very easy to talk to. Very, very, just light, airy personality. Just kind of wanted to hang out with her. So
Mhm.
I always get.
Had you told Kelsey the extent of our development was Googling how to start a podcast?
I don't
And
think
reading,
I
we
would
were
not
like,
have. I would have not told her our weaknesses. I would have just told her our strengths.
I don't
and we were
remember
like
that either.
sharing articles. We're like, this is a good one. Read this one.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, we were throwing we
Oh.
were throwing the articles back and forth.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah.
But anyway, it just seemed. I mean, her personality matched, and I couldn't ever imagine making her angry or her making me angry. So off we went, and just felt like she was a joy, obviously in her facial expressions, and got along great. And
Yeah.
Suzanne was there, the Brummers were there, everybody got
Yeah.
along with her. So it was kind of the first vetting process, and we were just ready to get going and make it happen. So
Yeah.
Well, I'm very curious, Kelsey, like what were your first impressions of Dad?
Well,
that
no,
old
Remember-
man, that old gray hair, yeah.
Remember,
Yeah, I
don't
remember
be
that.
don't be shy. Don't be
don't
shy.
be shy. Yeah. Yeah, no, that was a great time. I was excited to be there down, visiting from Wichita, Kansas. I actually drove to and from that day. So we were, just to give everyone listening in reference, like geographically,
Yeah.
we were very south Oklahoma and North Texas area.
Hmm.
And so it was probably a 4-hour drive. So I drove down that morning and then drove back up after the open house. So it was a long day. But I just thought you guys were great. Suzanne was awesome. And talking with you, Kevin, was just inspiring because, you reminded me a lot of like me and in my relationship with my dad. And I loved your story, what you told me about you and Jamie and how you wanted to start a podcast together to really highlight your relationship and how you've kind of transcended time and geographic location to build a relationship that wasn't always easy to do by being in the same place at the same time. So I really felt like I connected to your story. And I think as most people experience, you both are very bold and you've got such bright personalities. And I feel like I have a lot of, I don't know, I just fit in with that, I guess.
Yeah.
So I felt like I could see myself being reflected in you and then Jamie when I met you as well. And it makes for fun, a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun and great conversations. And I think I speak for myself, of course, but I enjoy working with you both. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about what all we've done because
What we've accomplished. Yeah.
there's a lot
I
of
do have
bigger
one question though,
things.
when we get a chance.
We've
Now
got
that I
it.
know that you're
You
now that
got
I
it.
know
You
you're
got
from
lots of
Wichita,
chance.
Kansas,
I
Okay.
love that.
how did you meet Brian?
Yeah, so
Mm.
great question. So Brian is originally from like the Dallas, Texas area, and lives, I think, in North Texas right now. And my aunt and uncle purchased a Mastercraft from him, actually.
Oh,
I want to say it was earlier this year. So it's December 2024. Again, if you're listening in 2025, like earlier this year is maybe January of 2024.
hmm.
But yeah, and they went up to visit at some point for winterization. And
Hmm.
oh gosh, they were talking about the new space, I believe. I'm not exactly sure what the conversation was, but I know that my aunt texted me and said, I like to connect you with Brian. We got to talking about you and what you do, and he's looking for some help, especially with this new launch of this brand that he's trying to put together and put out there. And the rest is history. So
Yeah, that's cool.
Brian's
Just
a great guy.
making the connections. That's great.
Right
Yeah,
place, right
that's awesome.
time. Like
Right. Yeah.
thanks to my
Yeah.
Hmm.
aunt for the connection, and Brian and I we got to work together for a few months, and that was so much fun and just great people. So I'm happy that I continue to attract that into my life.
And that brought you to us. So
Yeah.
Dad came back from that. We were reconnecting and he just said, "Hey, I found someone that could produce this thing for us." And we hadn't even talked about doing that yet. But in talking to you, I think very quickly learned like, yeah, we're going to need someone like her. So that was basically what got the ball rolling. You guys meeting, and then we very shortly thereafter got on the phone, the three of us. And same thing from my perspective. I was just like, I like this person. She gels with us well. I immediately thought like she will definitely act as a good buffer between Dad and I.
I do.
Because it's like there's no yin and yang here. It's like yang and yang. So I did think that, like, oh, she's friendly and positive, but she's not like us. Like, she's calm and you have a very calming personality, I think. And so I just was like, this will be a good trifecta, a good triangle. Um, which I don't know if I know we have not shared this on the podcast, but when I first graduated from college, did you know I worked for Dad for like 3 months?
Yeah.
Did we talk about that ever?
Yeah,
And
you
so
did.
I mean, I think we both learned in those 3 months, like we could never work together.
Mhm. Wasn't it one summer?
Forever. One summer.
Yep.
Dad was like, work for me. I'll pay you while you look for a job. Like it'll give you flexibility to look for a job and knowing that was never going to be the job. So, um, yeah, that's just one of those things.
Yeah.
But anyways, so that brought Kelsey to us. That's the background. Dad, what did you want to say?
Well, I wanted to say it's like being that we're in Oklahoma, Texas, now we've got Kansas involved, thinking about going into a fireworks stand. And
Oh,
when you were a young kid, how you like to play with the big M80 firecrackers.
mm-hmm.
James, you and I are the big M80, and it's
Yeah.
like taking Kelsey and putting one of those little black cat firecrackers in the
Yeah.
middle of two big M80s.
Yeah, like, yeah, she makes a pop, but yeah.
Yeah, she makes the pop to get the big pops going. That's right.
She's more appealing to the mass population.
Right.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. So you're saying you're not for everyone?
We're not for everyone.
She is truly up to her name. She's a rain shower, and we are a thunderstorm.
Yes.
I'm a rainmaker. Yeah.
This is true. Yeah.
Make it rain.
So yeah, make it rain. Exactly. And what's so interesting to me is I feel like what you just described is often the feedback that I get. So I feel like you both maybe see this side of me that it's just interesting to hear your experience in that too. So being flexible, right? I've done a lot of work.
Yeah, you're good at what you do. You're very calming influence. So, you can take cats and dogs and put them together and make things come out good. So,
yeah. Well, I do hope, Kelsey, to one day come visit you in Kansas City. I'm inviting myself. I want you to show me around. And because we've never met in person. I know you and Dad have, but we haven't. So I do look forward to the day. Whereas my best friend Meredith says, where I can hug your neck, give you a good hug in your neck. That's what we say. I can't wait for you to get here so I can squeeze your neck.
How tall are you? I was going to say
5'3".
It's not going to be a neck hug. I'm 5'8".
Are you really? I would have never guessed that. Wow.
Yeah. Hey, James,
I'll be like this. It'll be like an
bring
under
your
hug.
step stool, James. Bring that little step stool we got.
It's funny because I've always liked my height. I never had a problem with it. But as Reese is getting taller now, she likes to tell me, like, I'm almost as tall as you. You're short, Mom. You're short. I'm like, I don't know. I guess maybe I am. If you're, I never thought you were 5'8". Good to know. All right.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you this because I'm curious. So, and then we'll get into the behind the scenes of Two Clicks. But your company, Rain Social, what is the Rain from? And it's spelled RAYN.
Yeah. Do you know this story?
I don't know this story.
Oh, okay. Rain is my middle name.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Kelsey Rain. So
I love that.
I was sitting in my living room in Kansas City the first time I lived here. So this was back in 2018, officially when I, built Rain Social, and I came up with the hashtag Make It Rain Social. And
love it.
I liked that spin, it kind of it puts a fun emphasis behind Make It Rain. And obviously with the unique spelling as well. I get that often. But I feel like once you get to know me, everything about me being like a rainmaker and make it rain. I mean, I'm a get it done gal and willing to put in the work and excited to just facilitate like connection. So I've expanded. Like I do more than social. Obviously we do podcasts now. Those are my two areas of expertise. But then I actually am a strategic marketing consultant for businesses. So I either work with their internal marketing teams or I build external marketing teams, and I serve as the role of a fractional CMO, so chief marketing officer. So build strategies, plans, manage budgets, manage people, and make it rain while doing it.
I love it. Well, I do always think
that. We might need some additional help.
Yeah, I was going to say, I may be reaching out to you.
Hey, we'll talk about that in January with Shane.
I was going to say, are you guys, like, everyone's going to think we don't talk. We have monthly meetings. Yeah. We are very active,
But in true Jamie and Kevin fashion, we're very focused on us. We're not asking about you at all. Like, I will tell you, though, like, every month, when we're, and we connect more than once a month, but like there at least is once a month where I'm like, I need to ask Kelsey where the rain is from. Because I know your last name and I've been trying to figure it out. And obviously I didn't know. But whenever I hear Make It Rain, I just have to say, because I have to ask you, have you ever seen the movie Along Come Polly? It's Jennifer Aniston. Okay. Philip Seymour Hoffman, RIP. And they're playing basketball and he's just like throwing the basketballs at the net, like chucking them. And like he's going to make it. He's like, make it rain. Like he says all the time. It's one of my like favorite scenes of movies ever. It's amazing.
Okay,
so whenever I hear, I'm gonna find it because whenever I hear "Make It Rain," I just think of Philip Seymour like chucking the basketball at the goal, and it doesn't go in, by the way, because he's terrible, but it's very funny. So
it wouldn't go in if I was doing it either.
No, probably not for me either. But yeah. Anyways, all right. So we have you on the pod today. We're going to talk a little behind the scenes action here on really, I guess we kind of want to go from beginning of the process to where obviously we're recording what will be episode 18. So I think we were going to kick off by just talking a little bit about the inspiration of the podcast.
Yes. Yeah. What inspired you both to do this podcast? So tell us a little bit about that.
I'll let the old man start.
Well, the inspiration of the podcast, I think we pretty well document that, but you may not know that. The reason was to, as we were just kind of brainstorming over a summer, and we've told this story on the podcast, but just being together on her girls' weekend where everybody came and visit Suzanne and I at the lake, and I had been on a podcast and really was intrigued with that whole dialogue and the way that I saw the host behind the scenes working that, setting it up, getting the actual organizational side of it put together, offering me a list of about 50 questions, which drove what he wanted to hear and highlighted the points that he knew of me. We had a familiarity there. So I just, I really enjoyed that dialogue. It kind of brought out a personality that I think sometimes as a business owner and in a business environment, my staff sees that daily, but people outside of the organization do not. So I just really thought that was cool. And better yet, I've always been about not being the typical engineer, but a unique engineer that actually has a little bit broader stroke and a little bit more fun, a little bit more excitement, a little bit more varied
personality. You actually have a personality.
Yeah, a personality. I was trying not to use that word, but thank you, Jamie. And just in us dialoguing and talking about it and me mentioning it to her that I was thinking about doing a podcast, and in typical Jamie fashion, off she goes and off she starts running. And before we know it, we've inked a deal, signed a deal, got royalties involved, and we signed a contract right there on the back of the boat. So no, off we go. And we still kind of pondered on that. I think it was just not knowing what to do. And we started
how to do it.
As she said, how to do it. We started just kind of Googling it and then Googling equipment that we needed. And I think you were a little bit of a part in that at that point in time. But once we found you, knowing that somebody could help take care of the back end, being out in front on the front end was not going to be the problem. It was just kind of doing everything,
yes,
knowing and we discussed it on the very first day about, and I've been through this exercise before of just how important branding is, how important, setting up style, setting up fonts, setting up colors, setting up personalities, all that stuff is, from my perspective, something that I really like to push, but I would rather have somebody doing the hard push on the back end. And better yet, I think I have a little bit of creativity, but not enough it would take me forever to get there. And that's just me. I love starting a project, but that project, not that it won't go unfinished, but it takes a long time for me. I'm such a perfectionist, it will take forever.
Yeah. To get
So
it done. Yeah.
I knew that we needed help, and I knew that we were going to have to be willing to support that effort and um, fund those objectives that needed to get us off the ground. So
Yeah. It
you,
was,
you
Yeah.
I would,
made you made me immediately feel comfortable with entrusting our pocketbook and checkbook in your hands. So
Yeah.
yeah,
and
I
that's
guess
been a
just,
great experience. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, just a little from my take on it was, as far as wanting to start it, wanting to do it is just, I've always just, this is like literally a dream come true for me. Like sitting here talking about just anything. Like I just love to communicate. I like to be heard. And when dad was like, I kind of want to do this, I'd been like looking for that person in my life that was saying that would be willing to invest. Because I always knew like this isn't easy. Like everyone, there's how many podcasts out there, and it's like that of, but how many are there? So I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I also knew if there was somebody out there that I trusted that was willing to give me the courage to finally say, like, I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it was. And I tend to be that way, I think, like, as bold as I am, I always want like that person that's going to be the wingman to go with me. So when dad did that pod and he was on it and then got excited about that and he brought it up, I'm like, I'm there. I'm all about it. Like I'm in. I've been looking for the person. So yeah, let's do this. Let's come up with an idea. And then it became very overwhelming until we met Kelsey. Because we were like, dad's like sending me articles and I'm sending articles and I would read them. And this is like reading them while I'm getting ready to, like, I've got 20 minutes before I have to run the kids to the next thing or before I'm logging in to do my actual job and all of this stuff. And which was just getting very, overwhelming. And then finally dad came back from that trip and he's like, I found this person and I scheduled this call for I think we need a producer. And I was like, yeah, okay. Like, sure, let's talk to her. So it then started the process of, to dad's point, like, okay, we want to do this and we know we need help. I think we got there pretty quickly on our own. And then it was, okay, and to do it right. And we always wanted to do it right, didn't we, dad? Like we didn't want it to be cheesy or cheap, to look cheap, feel cheap, be any of those things. So when you showed up, Kelsey, and you're like, here's the proposal. I'm going to do a proposal. It's going to consist of these line items. You're going to need this. You're going to need that. At first, I was like, whoa. But then I was like, okay, this person knows what she's talking about, and she's going to organize this. And like I said, I think we both instantly liked you and had trust in you. So it went off and running, and it started moving very quickly at that point.
Yeah.
To your point, you're like, I will make it happen. You're like, you have an interest? Let's do this. And it's like, I'm going to need you to read this and get back to me in a week. And we're like, okay. It's just like, whatever you want, Kelsey,
I think it's, you were at a unique position because most people that approach me for podcasts are doing it as a means of creating like a marketing tactic, right? So we're using podcasting as a channel for marketing our business, similar to like a social media. Whereas you really built a brand around having a podcast. And that was an experience in and of itself that I was excited to embark on with both of you. And I really, stepping back, you mentioned something, Jamie, where I have to commend you. We're on episode 18 now, and approximately like, oh gosh, what's the statistics? So 80% of podcasts don't make it past 10 episodes. 80% of people that start podcasts don't make it past 10 episodes. So I think a lot of that has to do with, it is very time consuming. There's a lot of energy involved with the back end of what I do, or, the money, hire me or someone to do what I do. It absolutely can be done. But I definitely commend you for, how far you've come and the stories that have been told and the many, many hours that have been put into this on both ends. It's been super fun. So,
yeah.
And it all started.
It really has. Yeah.
like
It
the
did.
idea and then the brand. So
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So I guess we
yeah,
meet you, we decide, we signed the contract. Yes,
yeah,
we want to work with you. And part of that, literally part of that contract was branding. And we kicked off the branding exercise. And that
mhm,
that consisted of, first it was me, you, dad, and Megan on a call. Megan was who did our logo, all of our design work,
mhm,
font, colors, type. I mean, you don't realize how much when you think like, oh, someone's going to develop a logo. Sure, you're developing a logo, but we're also setting out of that logo, out of that branding exercise came a font, specific color palette, came background. We have 4 different backgrounds. We have 3 different like logo iterations of the logo. I mean, like
mhm,
it's more than just a logo. So we met with Megan and you joined for that. And she basically interviewed us
yep,
for what was a branding discovery. I keep calling it a discovery call, which
yeah,
I don't know if that's what she called it, but that's what we had.
She did.
yep,
And
Yeah.
yeah. And in starting that process, it was like, same as like we just said, like, why do you guys want to do this? What are you
mhm,
planning to talk about? Who do you want what's your target? What's your goals? All of that stuff. But my favorite question, and then I'll let dad touch on his like perspective from this, but my favorite question was when they asked us to describe, and they asked both, dad, you, this, and me, for us to use 3 words to describe like us. And I think you said, I don't even remember what I said, but I think you were just like bold, like immediately.
yep,
And
Yeah.
I love that. And I remember Megan like laughing, but in a when I was watching her, she was kind of like, no shit. Like, I've been on the phone with you guys for 20 minutes. Like, no kidding. That was what I took from that. I don't know, Dad, what did you think about that branding call?
Well, yeah, and I'd been on those before a couple different
Yeah.
times, and I've been very disappointed in the outcome because it's
Mm,
you tend to think that everybody's a professional on the other end, and they are, but they can't read your mind.
yeah.
So I've gone through that iteration, and I just want to, and it's been not a disaster, but I've never been really pleased on the first iteration. So knowing that this was a startup and knowing that we really didn't, and I say this, knowing that economics and money was a trying to fund a hobby here versus a business.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I and I had a partner for the first time versus just me. And I'm not one to ever do anything half-assed. I'm all in and off we go. And Jamie was the same way. I just said, this is what we are. Is we're bold, we're
Mhm.
bright, and we're beautiful. And so therefore we want to express bold color, bold fonts, and something that is not ordinary. I like to use the word as I was describing myself as an engineer, but unique. We're
mhm.
unique, and maybe bold is not so unique. And I don't know after
Well,
18 episodes how people feel,
I
but
think
said bold.
you specifically said,
Don't give
I don't
me
want,
any pastels. I do
I
not
don't want
want any
any,
pastels.
you're like,
I
I
no
want bright
pastels,
colors.
right? No
yeah,
pastels, no pastels, no filtered colors. Like that was
Yeah.
yep.
what you said.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I
We
had a
aren't
separate
designing a
call
rainbow.
with
No.
him,
Yeah.
Jamie. I had a separate call with Kevin about this. So I'm going into the branding and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's never been happy with anything. I mean, he obviously has had a successful business or
Yeah.
businesses. Okay, this is great. Let's do it. And I
Well, I
partner
will.
with amazing people. So Megan Wolf, helped project connected you two. And yeah, I I think it was definitely meant to be. I was super nervous going into the branding discovery call because Kevin, and I talked separately, and he was expressing a lot of what he just expressed. I don't want pastels. I've never really had good luck. No one can really read my mind as far as like what I'm looking for, and especially because this podcast being a hobby, as you've described, it really needs to represent you both. And
Yeah.
so how do you blend that and into a brand So we had a couple different like iterations of the design. And yeah, I mean, I think with what we ended up, highlighting in the logo was the importance of symbolizing connection through the speech bubble. And
Mm-hmm.
then the map markers, if you can really look at it, a lot of people that are listening or watching, you can see the background on the YouTube channel and you'll see the logo, but head on over to social and check it out and you can see the map markers. And that's what that is doing, is bridging a geographic distance through your shared stories, which I really felt like Megan encapsulated perfectly. And
Yeah.
it was really cool to see your background and the purpose of why you got started with this podcast come to life. So
Yeah. I will say, similar to Dad, I mean, he and I don't think talked offline about being nervous about it, but when we showed up for that call for Megan to share with us her initial designs, I was nervous too, because I think a little different perspective is Dad being the owner of his company. He's been through many marketing calls of rebranding and brand, blah, 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 all this stuff. And not that I own the company I work for, but in my capacity, I have been on those calls for that organization as well. And the same feeling, like I would walk out of there and just be like, I mean, it's okay. Like I would pick the best of the three, but never felt like I loved it, And I always put that to like, it's hard to sell what we do, whatever. So when we met with Megan, she showed us three designs and we really talked a lot about how we spent so much of our life together centered around being on the water. So that was one of the designs. It brought into account water and all that. And then I think the design we went with may have been the third one. But as soon as I saw it, I was just like, that's it. Like, and I was so happy. I got off that call that day and I was just like, I've never gotten off a call like this. And again, I've been on three in my professional career. I've never gotten off a call and been like, yes. And I don't know, Dad, did we tweaked one thing? Like there was one thing we were like, maybe it was something about where like the two was. We were like maybe bring the two closer into the, it was and Megan was like, yeah, I like that. I agree with that. It wasn't, I mean, she wasn't like, oh no, like I did that for a reason. She's like, yeah, I like that. And that was it. It was signed, sealed,
Yeah,
delivered. So it was great.
she was really kind of on the more formal side and more, and I think we used the word, like a comic book or, just, I think the comic series type of stuff, that caricatures, we didn't really want, we wanted funny. We didn't want anything just
Too
laid
serious.
down
Yeah.
low serious. Yeah.
yeah,
It's like we wanted to do all these things. We wanted to invest in this branding. So we came across as real and serious about what we're doing, but we wanted it to be fun. And she did it. It's perfect. I love our logo. I love everything she did. So yeah.
And what people might not know is like the branding part of this really kicked off an 8 to 10 week process. I think we
Mm-hmm.
called it
Mm-hmm.
the launch phase. So we've got the pre-launch, launch, and then post-launch. And so I think we really kicked off the branding. And if I'm looking back in my mind, I believe it took a total of 10 weeks to do all of it. Not that we couldn't have done it quicker, but I know as we get to talking about with a production piece,
Mm-hmm.
you had to record quite a bit of episodes up front too. But then we also did the website, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yep. So once we had the design, then we went right into website mode, which for us, that was always like, yeah, keep it simple. Again, it's about having an online presence, but we want it to feel personal. We want it to feel like Kevin and Jane, our relationship. That was the focus. So we brought in the pictures. We wanted to open up the opportunity for people to connect with us. That's why we're constantly saying like, hey, you have input to share. You do that through the website. And that was done. Again, it all just with your help, it seemed to all flow very seamlessly.
Yeah.
I don't know if it felt like that to you, but it did to me.
Yeah, I think we had like in total, it was about 2 weeks for branding, and then we had about 3 to 4 weeks for the web page or the landing
Yep.
page creation, which is really serving, like you mentioned, as a hub for all things 2 clicks. So we have a bit more information about you as the hosts, and then a way that people can connect and reach out to you as well, whether it's for speaking opportunities or
Yep.
sponsorship opportunities. So that was really a fun part of the process, to build a place where you could start to invite people into your community through this
Yeah.
website. That um, so that was about 4 weeks, and then you both really started. We started in on the audio and video production.
Hmm.
So anything to add to the website before I start talking about the?
No, I think, yeah, that to me, the biggest thing was like, we need it, but it doesn't need to be too crazy. Like keep it simple.
Well, yeah,
KIS.
just yeah, the timeline was I think we met kind of mid-April. That's what I remember being up there in that time frame of being at the show. And anyway, mid-April through, and we started recording, prior
Mhm.
to July. So
July, yeah, June.
it was
Yeah.
it was quick.
But even
Yeah.
before that, okay, so I was a big proponent out of the gate, and I am with all of my clients. And if you're on video, I hope you're enjoying my cat in front of the camera. This is a pretty usual occurrence.
We're
So
used to it. Yeah.
I just live in her world, right? But so we started working. I was a big proponent for video, right? If you're
Yes.
gonna put the time and effort and energy behind audio, just turn on your camera. And
Yep.
so you guys both aligned with that. And we, most podcasts, when you listen to them, you kind of hear this intro, and then when the podcast finishes, you hear what we consider an outro. And so we went through a short process of building in the intro and outro for the
Hmm.
podcast. So you both chose music that
Yep.
we had to license. We had to license the music so that we could use it for copyright. And I think that was a fun experience, right? It's like you don't know really what goes into the back end of creating a podcast, let alone each episode. And so creating the intro and outro, and that stays pretty static unless, we want to update it for events or upcoming, merch and so forth. We'll update it, every few months.
Yeah.
But that was a neat experience too. You created the scripts.
Well, and like even the
Yeah.
music aspect, like you sent us, hey, these are two websites that have sound clips. This is start here, start looking for what you like. Well, there's thousands of music options. So dad and I would send, and his were like really rock heavy, and mine would be kind of like almost like not somber, but more like folksy, and then I'm like, okay, and so finally we were like, okay, let's combine these two worlds. And I love this. Our song is actually called There Might Be Trouble. And you picked that up when we sent it to you, you're like, are you serious? And I'm like, I it's just you told me this website, I picked it, I liked it, and I felt like it was such a good blend of us, like we both like rock, but we both like country, and we both like it. To me, I was just like, this is great, and it is called There Might Be Trouble. So yeah, the music was in and of itself, that was like a whole thing. So, and then yeah, we scripted the intro and outro, which I don't know, maybe it feels scripted. The intention is that it doesn't, but we did. We scripted that. You like everything. We're like, Kels, what do you think? And you're like, yep, fix this, change that, maybe this, that. And so a 10-second intro outro is also a hour-long exercise. It's like
Hmm.
everything that you think is like, that'll be quick. It's like, it is and it isn't. So yeah. And then I guess the biggest, like the next big thing was when you were like, okay, I want to launch 5 episodes in week 1. And for me, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, like what? And but again, we're like, you walk, I follow. And so that was the next big thing was, dad and I doing the homework of outlining, okay, we know what we want to do. We know what we're looking to accomplish. We
Mhm.
had to start timescaping it. I'm going to say timescaping it because that's what it was. We knew we wanted to tell this timeline approach. So we had to sit down, and that was fun because we were going into ourselves like, okay, like dad would be like, I need the years. Like in my mind, I was living in like moments and memories, but dad was very number driven. Like, I need the years. What year was that? And I'd say, okay, it was this year to that year. And then he'd be like, okay, got it. And then, so we did that. And you told us that you were like, you need to set your pillars. So we decided our pillars would be our timeline. And that was how we built out really what became the first 15 episodes.
Yeah.
Truly.
Which was around your story for those that maybe haven't listened to all of the episodes. I mean, you spent the last 15 episodes telling your story about it, really what connected you and a lot of your relationship too that comes through in each episode. And I mean, you guys got to recording, but before that, I mean, we had to choose podcast platforms.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we record on Riverside. We've done Zoom before. I don't know if we have, but I have experienced recording in Zoom and other clients that do. And then, it was important that whatever platform we choose to launch the podcast in each episode, that it connects to all major platforms so that we could really be inclusive with however people digest their information and where they like to listen. So, I mean, you both really spent a few weeks recording 5 episodes. I mean, hour long-ish episodes telling your story, recalling, decades ago.
Well, and little background behind the scenes here, we actually re-recorded episode 1 because we recorded the first 3 episodes and dad and I connected. And I think I said it first, but I was just like, we have to redo it. And you were like, yeah, I hated it. I hated, your dad said that, like, you were like, I felt like I didn't feel like I was myself listening to that. Like, it's not me. And it wasn't. So we actually went back and re-recorded episode 1 after we had recorded episodes 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And, which was a fantastic decision because as weird as that kind of was, it would have, we needed those like 3 episodes to just get comfortable with what we were doing. Yeah. And I think every episode we get more comfortable with it, but that first one, when we recorded episode 1 and then did 2 more, it was like, wow, it is so much different than what that first one was. So, I think we called you and were like, we want to redo it. And you were like, okay, do it quickly.
I know. It was like 1 week to launch, and
you're like, really? And I'm like, we have to. Like, I just was like, we absolutely have to. We absolutely have to. Yeah. So we did those 5, and I think we recorded those over 2 weeks. Does that feel right, Dad? Basically 2 weeks of time that we recorded those.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we were in launch week in July.
One of the questions that you asked and me to talk about too was why 5 episodes? And I mean,
why?
It's not like 5 is a magic number. I think the thought process behind 5 is you want to give people enough content to where, they can breeze through the content and they're, excited about the next episode that we're going to launch. So what we did was we chose launching 1 for every day of the week. Of that launch week, which I think was July 7th or the
July
week
7th. Yeah. Right after 4th of July. Yeah.
Yeah. We launched 1 episode every day that week. And then we actually launched episode 6 on the following Tuesday, which the schedule right now is, your bi-weekly every other Tuesday, which, surprise, you're going to have 5 in January, I think.
In December. But yeah.
In December. Yeah. 5 in December. And, that was just, it's not something, I mean, looking back, if I'm like, okay, what would I recommend now doing differently? You do lose people after a couple episodes because people can't, especially hour-long, episodes, they can't really, with everyone's lives are busy, they can't really keep up. And so I think giving that now, maybe given a little bit more time to people to digest the content would be.
Well, I think it's funny when we were planning in the early stages, Dad was like, I think these are 45 minutes to an hour. And Dad was like, I think they're 20 to 30 minute episodes. And I was just like, there's no way. And so to your point, when you said, let's launch 5, think you ever thought, oh, these are going to be hour and a half to hour and 45-minute long episodes, which I
I
will
did not.
say we are working on that, guys. We're working to keep it focused and directed. I actually coming downstairs into the recording studio, I record at mom's and she and Dom were upstairs and they were like giving me their feedback on the episode that released this week. And they're like, so, maybe going forward, you guys don't need to catch up for like 30 minutes. Like it's great and all, but and I said, well, I hear you, but what's interesting is like they're like, we like to hear the stories. And I said, well, it's running 50-50 right now because other people like the catch up because that lets them hearing the stories. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, like we hear both. Like some people are like, I just like when you guys talk. And other people are like, I just want to hear the story. So we're working on dialing that in. But I do think that played into, to your point, hindsight, like maybe it's not 5, maybe it was 3, knowing they're an hour and a half each. But regardless, I personally, looking back, I like it because all of like my close friends and family, they were so amped about this. They were just like, yes, and I love that there's a new one tomorrow. Like to the point now where they're like, I hate that you're every other week. Like I'm waiting for that next one. And I'm like, in one more week, and we're talking about that. So but anyway, so I think, yeah, great point. We rolled out with 5 and then transitioned into every other week starting on that last week of July, I guess, is what that happened.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And then, another aspect of launch week, which was to me, we talked about, we wanted to share like learning curves and what did we take from this? Like the biggest thing for me out of all of this has just been social media and me being on social media as a person versus doing this to try to grow a brand for what, like, again, is a hobby. It's something we're doing, but we want it to grow. Like we want this to be, Dad and I are way too like ego driven for it not to be a success. So it's like, we want this to be a big success. And the social media aspect is very overwhelming. The amount of time you can spend learning it, how to use it, how much to use it, not overusing it. What do you say? How do you drive content? How do you drive feedback? Like and you're all along, Kelsey, just telling me like, try this, do that, not so much, more, less, different, and I'm like, so it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. Kevin, what's been your experience with social media and just like the launch too?
Well, I think, the launch went well. I agree that on the first episode, we'd spent hours putting a script together and trying to read through a script was my downfall, thinking that I could have a teleprompter that wasn't a teleprompter. And just being, and that's why I like to catch up more than the storytelling, but it's sometimes it's hard to be yourself, trying to take and tell that story. And I find that when I tell a story away from this, obviously it's me telling it many times prior to, but it's hard to bring that same excitement in with the story for the 100th time of me telling the story. And it's somewhat difficult for sure, but as Jamie said, the more we got into the catch up, and the catch up tended to kind of dominate the conversation. The reason I felt it dominated the conversation, it was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and not so serious. There were plenty of times where I really felt a little itch and in the hot seat and felt like I had a seat warmer on, and I hate seat warmers, but it just, yeah, it was uncomfortable at times and difficult, but it's something that I knew it was the mission of the whole podcast to begin with. So that was fine. I was never not going to do it. And Jamie and I have had enough serious conversations prior to this one, but being on a public forum, that doesn't really bother me or scare me. I'm not worried about that. It has created some hardship, I know, or some probably hurt feelings, but
Hmm.
um, it was all good. And it's something that we still enjoy. So we're still after it. We're not burnt out on it. We really love doing it because it does allow us to catch up and have a more intimate relationship, even beyond the relationship that we
That we have.
kindred
Yeah.
to begin with. So it brings a commonality and a common good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, and I love my mother to death, and mom was always fact checking us on every story that we
Yeah.
told. And so there was plenty of feedback coming back directly. It just wasn't coming back in the medium that I really wanted it to, which was through the channel or
Mhm.
through that all that work that we had gone to set it up. But social media, I feel a little bit more comfortable with that now that I know what's going on and getting back after taking a hiatus away from Facebook and all that. I feel good about that. I think right now my task and what I find difficult, as Jamie kind of said in her segue into that, would be it's difficult to figure out what's going to take and what to post. I'm
Mhm.
not a big fan of posting, and this is a personal one-on-one show about us, but I look at other reels that are just cool reels that kind of create laughter and fun for me, and have my favorites. And I think for whatever reason, I'm still trying to link those favorites to what I think our listeners would want to see or share with. But what I found out is anytime I share a favorite reel, they've seen it already anyway. So, I
Well,
feel like I've
maybe.
stumbled I feel like I've stumbled on something that's just so freaking funny. And
I know. I know.
my favorite little boy Jude, his name is Jude, the well maybe boy. And I mean that kid is, he's got a new haircut. I saw him today. His hair's all cut off. Well, I'm tuned out now that he's got a business like haircut
Mm.
instead of just his golden long locks. So yeah, and I can't remember Adam's last name, but the guy that just has those reels to where he's got girls doing a ballet dance and he's over there and he's looking over there. those things where they clip it and they show their facial expressions, those are priceless. But anyway, yeah, I have not figured out what it really would be that anybody listening to two clicks would really like to see or what we could share. And it's my sister shared with me over Thanksgiving. She says, well, I know you and Jamie love live music and you like to share your live music and your band's deal, but I don't even know who these bands are, so I'm not in. I'm out. So that's a hard, and I think that's true with everybody. You have to find something that resonates with the people that you really want, or the
Mhm.
people that are going to follow, and bet the people that follow you aren't really even the people that you would know that would follow you. So
Yeah.
I,
But
I
some
do
of that
feel
too
that
is
there's
just
a
like,
better direction.
yeah, but I mean, at the same time, to that point, I hear the point of, I don't know those bands. It's like, right, then go check them out. Like, that's why we're
Yeah.
talking about them because we like them. I'm like, I wouldn't say this if they sucked. I just
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't, Now you can listen to it and go, that's not for me, but it's still like anything in life. It's like, check it out. Like if someone says, you got to watch this show, it's amazing. And I like that person and I trust that person or, I'm like, all right, I'll check it out. I may not like it, but I'm going to go check it out. So I don't know. I think what I'm the most excited about is I'm ready to take it to the next thing. Like having Kels on tonight, talking with her, sharing this, like I'm very excited about these conversations where we get to be together, Dad, and still have our dynamic, but talk with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're doing. That's what we're looking forward to in 2025. And I think there's lots of things we could say we could have done different or better. But I also am one of these people that lives in the mindset of like, but we did it how we did it, and that's ours. And that's our box and that's our thing to hold. And I'm very proud of what we've done. And I'm
For
very
sure.
happy
For
to
sure.
have Kelsey in our life. Like truly, she's become a friend. And like I said, I can't wait to stretch to hug her neck one day in Kansas City, not in Texas.
Yeah. I love
But
it.
yeah, like I don't know, to sum it all up, I think I hope we shared enough for people because I just had so many friends that are like, like, "Oh, how did you do this? And how is that? How do you get this going?" And the one thing we probably skipped over a little bit is just I think that when people ask me like, how do you pick the platforms? And it's like you just our goal, our whole point was we go everywhere to appeal to everybody, and that's what we're looking to do. We're just looking to touch as many people as possible, and um, if you're looking for the technical aspects behind how do you actually do that, then I will send you Kelsey Webb's contact information, and she is your girl if you ever have interest in learning more about how to launch your own podcast. Seriously, I mean, it's because it's boring to go into all the technicalities, but there is plenty of it behind it, and Kelsey does that for us. That's why we use her. That's why we have her, and we could not do this without you. So
Thank you.
Well, and she pushed us to areas that we never would have even thought about. We would have gone to one platform and thrown it out there and hoped to make some traction with it. And Kelsey says, "No, you're paying for all of them. We might as well grab something even better that's going to bring them all into play." So when
Mhm.
you think about that, from Spotify to the website to YouTube to now,
Apple,
on it's Apple.
Audible.
Better yet, it's on
Yeah.
Audible now. I mean, I listen to Audible all the time, and I see it come up that where Amazon is bringing podcasts onto Audible. It's right there.
Hmm.
That's what I listen to it. So it's an incredible experience to just have that skill set. Better yet, the reason that really pushed me over the edge was talking to John Wheaton, the host of, you know, his podcast where he invited me, and I said, how do you go about that? And he said, you'll get taken around the circle. You'll have more questions than you have answers. The technical side of it, you need to find somebody to help you through that. But he
Mhm.
said, don't drive to perfection. And he knows me. That's exactly what I drive to. He said, just get a mic, plug it in, and start recording. And he said, you will learn as you go. And we will have, that's one of the things that Jamie and I talked about. Just bringing John on to kind of visit with him, that we've done it, we've launched it. You probably aren't even listening to it, but come on board and talk to us about, take a listen and see what you think. And let's talk about your family dynamic.
Hmm.
And yes, we will bring on musical guests that we follow and find as heroes because we just admire these guys, and talk about their family dynamics.
Hmm.
So the core of what we are about, which is father daughter
Relationships. Yeah.
relationship, it's that's still the platform of what we want to discuss. But it's fun to go grab the people that meant something to us or the heroes that we have. And if we can get them here and talk about that and they relate to that, then bingo. The first big thing, right, wrong, or indifferent, it grows our listenership because these guys, anybody and everybody, Kelsey, you have following. Anybody we bring on has more following than just Jamie and I.
Yeah.
And how we get out and we actually get listened to, I think that's still a big question in my mind. But, but this is the 5 month anniversary, July through December, 5 months. 5 months
And
young. I
Yeah.
mean,
okay,
that's
hopefully you're okay with me sharing this, but my hope is that through the end of the month, so we are at 882 downloads in only 18 episodes. I mean, so
mm-hmm.
that means someone has accessed it on their device to play or listen to the episode. 1,000 downloads in 18 episodes. I feel like that's definitely something to celebrate.
Yeah. For two
So,
unknown people, I mean, it ain't bad.
well, and everyone that's tuning in. I mean,
Yeah.
thanks for sticking with us. And I know that it's a constant invitation, from Jamie and Kevin to, hey, we want to hear from you. And I know that they're
Mm-hmm.
very genuine when they're saying it, but we get busy in life doing other things. And so, we welcome those that tune in to, provide feedback if you have it, but then also just connect with us, engage, and know that, a little bit goes a long ways. So if something you listened to connected, and made you think of someone, share it with them. Or if this is something you enjoy listening to every
Yeah.
week, leave a review. It helps. It really helps move the needle, which I know is what
We're trying to do. I appreciate that point. Yeah, like leave the reviews that you can through Apple, through Spotify. That's great. And then like I said, the transition into the new year is for us to start having guests on, whether that's every episode, every other, that's still in very much the development phase. But for our listeners out there, if there's someone in your life that you think has a very interesting relationship story to share and that would be willing to share that, connect them to us. We would love to have them on. We're looking to just connect with people that find value in talking about their background, their relationships, their history, and kind of what got them to where they are today in those relationships. And, I think if you've listened to at least 2 episodes of this show, you will know that Kevin and I are by no means perfect, and definitely have spent a lifetime together as a father and a daughter, learning about each other, learning from each other, and learning together. And we love that. We love talking about relationships and sharing our story, but we love hearing about other people too. So please share that. And more to come for sure.
So exciting. And if there's more you want to know, feel free to reach out to me.
Yes.
On social media, Rain Social, RAYN. I'm happy to come on and have another conversation. I think this is fascinating. It's obviously probably a good thing I do it as a profession. A lot of fun getting to listen to the episodes, work through the transcripts, make the social clips, do all the behind the scenes. I'm not used to being in front of a screen as much anymore, but we're getting there. I've recorded a few episodes of my own. Maybe those will launch one day. We'll see.
Well, you killed it tonight. Killed it.
Well, I adore you. I'm so glad that our paths connected. And I'm really excited for 2025, just based on our last conversation 2 weeks ago. So stay tuned, guys.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Ready for it. Okay.
All right. Well, let's shut this down.
Let's shut her down. Let's wish everybody happy holidays.
Yes.
And,
well, it'll be post-holidays.
Right in the corner.
I want to say, because when we record, obviously it's ahead of time, but you will hear this on New Year's Eve. So happy New Year to everybody. Have a fun, safe, eventful, memorable New Year's Eve. And here's to 2025.
Yeah. Here's to 2025.
Hey, we might need to record a New Year's cheer, Jamie.
We should have talked about our resolutions real quick.
Oh, I haven't even made one.
Oh, okay. Anybody got any?
Yeah.
I got lodged.
I've got it.
No.
I better go to confession before the end of the year.
Yeah, I feel like there are more confessions and resolutions. Amen to that. Amen to that. All right. Well, I love y'all. Love you guys.
All right. Love you guys.
Bye.
Have a great week and great weekend.
Yeah. We'll do it.
And we're going to sign off to Kansas City, Missouri.
Kansas City, baby.
And Wichita, Kansas.
I love it. Go Chiefs, right?
Yeah.
Go Chiefs.
Mm. I'm gonna hire Bowling Pursuit for Kelsey's birthday one year.
You're a Dallas fan?
I'm a Dallas fan.
Okay.
Texas.
All right, baby.
Well,
okay.
It's a great year for us.
No, you might want to root for your home team, Kelsey. Give up on the Cowboys.
Yep. Here we go.
Well, Kelsey, you'll appreciate this. I'm not really an NFL fan. Obviously, everyone knows I follow college more, but I live in Philadelphia, and I'm raising, unfortunately, an avid Eagles fan. I mean,
I knew it.
That's going to be rough.
Reese has Jersey Day tomorrow at school, and she's wearing the A.J. Brown, Kelly Green jersey. tomorrow. So
Okay.
loud and proud. These Eagles people are cray. They're all cray.
Oh, I love it.
All right. I love y'all. Until next time.
All right. Yep. See
Bye.
ya.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in today. With so many podcasts out there, we are grateful you chose to spend your time with us.
And we'd love to hear from you. So send us your questions, comments, and feedback to info@twoclicksinapod.com, and we might feature your message in a future episode.
Also, don't forget to follow us on social and head over to our YouTube channel where you can watch the full episode live and in living color. You can find us at 2 Clicks in a Pod. That's 2, as in the number, clicks in a pod.
Well, James, until next time, love you.
Love you too, Daddy.